All right, let's talk about Hegel. We're going to tackle one of the biggest challenges in all of philosophy, his massive project to map out the journey of what he calls mind, or spirit. Think of it as the evolving consciousness of all of humanity. Even Hegel's own editor said his work was tough. So if you've ever picked up Hegel and felt a little lost, hey, you are in very good company. Our whole goal here is to give you a framework, a kind of mental map to help you crack that nut. We're going to picture this whole thing as an epic climb up a mountain in three huge stages. It's a journey that starts way down in the inner world of a single person's thoughts and climbs all the way up to a universal understanding of, well, everything. Okay, let's start the climb. So, our journey begins at the very base of the mountain. Hegel calls this first stage the subjective mind. This is where mind is basically just looking in the mirror, trying to figure out its own basic nature before it can really deal with the outside world. And what's so cool here is you can see a clear progression. Mind starts out as what Hegel calls soul, just pure, raw feeling and sensation. Then it develops consciousness when it realizes, hey, there's a world out there that isn't me. But the real game changer? That's self-consciousness. And for Hegel, that only happens when you look into the eyes of another person and see yourself reflected back.
But here's the thing. That first meeting with another person, it's not a friendly hello. For Hegel, it's a life or death struggle for recognition. This leads to his super famous master-slave dynamic. Now, you'd think the master wins, right? He gets the recognition he wants. But, and this is a classic Hegelian twist, he argues it's actually the slave who wins in the long run. Through the discipline of work, and by staring down the fear of death, the slave develops a much deeper, more independent sense of who they are. Okay, so mind is now self-aware, but it quickly realizes it can't just float around in its own head. To be truly free, your inner self has to make a mark on the real world. So now we move to the next stage of the climb, where mind steps out into society to make its freedom a reality.
So how does it do that? First up, law. Think about it. When you claim a piece of property or sign a contract, you're doing something amazing. You're taking an internal idea, this belongs to me, and you are literally making it an objective fact in the world that other people have to respect. But just following the rules isn't real freedom. That could just be obedience. So mind evolves again. It develops an inner compass, morality. This is your conscience, your personal sense of right and wrong. Freedom is no longer just about what you can do, it's about what you feel you should do. And here is the synthesis, the big payoff. Hegel calls it social ethics. This is that perfect sweet spot where the external rules of your society, the laws, the customs of your community, line up perfectly with your own internal moral compass. You follow the law not because you're scared of getting caught, but because it feels like an expression of your truest self. That's where real freedom lives. Now, for Hegel, the ultimate expression of this is the rational state. He goes so far as to call it the mortal God on earth. It's a pretty intense phrase, right? But what he means is that the ideal state is where individual freedom and the good of the whole community stop being enemies and become part of the exact same project. All right, mind has built a world. It's found its place in it. Now it reaches the final stage of the climb, the summit. From up here, at the very peak, it can finally look back on the entire journey and understand the ultimate nature of everything. This final, total understanding happens in three forms, each one getting more and more refined. First, mind gets a glimpse of the ultimate truth through the beauty and intuition of art. Then, it goes deeper, understanding it through the shared faith and feeling of religion. But the very, very top, the highest peak, that's philosophy. That's where mind finally understands itself and the universe in pure conceptual thought. So we've gone from a simple, isolated feeling all the way to a philosophical grasp of the entire cosmos. It's a wild ride. But Hegel wasn't just drawing a map for fun. He was making a huge point about what it means to be us. So what's the big takeaway from this whole epic climb? It really boils down to a few powerful ideas. First, real freedom isn't some feeling you have in your head. It's something concrete that we build together, in the real world, with our laws and our societies. Second, history isn't just one random thing after another. For Hegel, it's a rational story. It's the epic of mind slowly figuring itself out and becoming free. Which means, and this is the big one, that you and I understand ourselves best when we see that we're part of this larger story. The world isn't just something happening to us. It's a story we are all writing together. See, Hegel's whole system isn't just about the past. It's a challenge. It forces us to look at our own time, right now, as another chapter in this incredible, unfolding story. It makes us ask, what's the next stage in the journey? And that leaves us with one final, very big question to think about.